Not registered or did not apply online on the website? Hi. Okay. I guess we'll talk afterwards. Okay. So, in order to be here, what's supposed to have happened is you're supposed to have applied on onesemesterstartup.com with a whole team.
Well, first you're supposed to have read the syllabus that I carefully wrote, and
then you're supposed to have applied online. And then what happens is, to get in this class, you get accepted as a team, not as an individual. And so it's for startups. It's not actually just for people. And it's only for startups that are actually already going. So this isn't like, I have an idea and I want to go start working on it. Like I think I want to go do it. This is like, I'm already doing it. I'm doing it with or without this class. And I want to get credit and time to work on it. And I want to get help, as much help as I can, from the rest of the university, which means resources and mentors and teachers and a bunch of other things. But that's really what the target of it is. And we wish it could be everything to everybody, but unfortunately that's kind of what we have to work with. So there are 10 teams that have been accepted that went through that application, and we told them that those teams are in. Once the team is in, anybody on the team, as far as we're concerned, can take the class. We've tried to make it so everybody can take the class. We've got course numbers in like almost every school, and hopefully that everybody can get lots of credit for it. You can get a writing flag. This can be a senior engineering design project. It can be a lot of different things. So we're trying to make that easy. But you do have to have a startup. And if you don't have a startup, that's okay. You just can't take a class this semester. But what you should be doing if you really want to take the class then is you should be right now going and like getting your startup going so that you can take it next semester or another time or something like that. We will have to kind of sort through all that after. So we're going to introduce everybody in a second, but we'll all be here after. And if you are not on a team, you should come talk to us and we should talk about it. If you are not on a team, if you like aren't on a team, don't want to join somebody else's team, and don't have your own startup, you probably just you don't really need to stay. It'd be kind of a waste of time. If you have a team, if you have something and you just didn't apply right, you think like, oh no, I've got a real startup and it's something real and I should be in the class, then stay and we'll talk to you after. If you want to take the class, you don't have anything you're working on, but you're interested in joining another team, it's a long shot. We have not found that to work very well, but we can talk about that after too and try to maybe help you match up with the team. So, that wasn't how we were supposed to start, but that was the start. So real quickly, I'll introduce everybody. This is Bob Metcalf over to my right here. He's one of our esteemed professors. He'll introduce himself later as well. He's from the engineering school. I'm Josh Baer. I'm from the natural sciences school and computer science. John Butler is not here tonight, but is was a professor with us the past 2 semesters and one of our great supporters from the management school and helps us there. And then Ben Dyer, who's sitting up front, has been a mentor for the past 2 semesters and will be helping to teach the class this semester. So the primary 3 professors for this class this semester are Bob, myself, and Ben. And then other people that you'll interact with here, Jason Nolasco, who's in the back waving his hand, is our community manager. He's been with us since the beginning of the first time we taught the class. This is his 3rd semester. He's a UT alum and a web designer, among other many skills. And he really helps us to run the class and keep it all going. His title is technically community manager, but that just means he has to do everything that the TAs don't do, and he actually ends up doing a lot of the work that we're probably supposed to do. But that includes maintaining the website, the communications between the class, which is really important, scheduling events and things that we do, and being a resource and a connector for you to all the things going on. So if you aren't really sure what to do or who to talk to, Jason's often like a really good place to start. And then also we have Brittany here in the middle with the camera. Brittany is technically what we would, as far as our TAs go, we call our communications or our writing TA, which means that when there's a big writing component to this class and when there are those things to review, Brittany is one of the people reviewing and grading those. She'll also help out with a whole bunch of other things with the class, like registration issues, helping to make sure that we record things. And I'm sure we'll throw a lot of other things at her too. And then Ian, is Ian here? We don't have Ian. Ian will be here next week. Ian's our mentor wrangler, and Ian is just joining us this semester, but he's in particular going to be helping with coordinating, connecting you with mentors, and making sure that process is working really well. And we'll talk about that more, but the mentors is one of the most important parts of the class that you want to get out of this.
Ian's probably not here because he is in the Air Force. He's a B-2 bomber pilot.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he may be over at that Air Force base on Mopac there.
Or you could be over some foreign country bombing something. But that's the team that helps run the class. For 30 students or 35 students, that's actually a really big team. And then there's a whole bunch of other mentors and other people we bring in too. So you'll get a chance to meet all of us tonight, and we look forward to working with all of you. So I'm going to go over. I've got a bunch of slides here where I'm going to probably take about 30 or 40 minutes and go through just what to expect in the class. And that's most of what today is like what to expect in the class, a chance for you guys to ask questions, and to kind of figure out how things are going to move forward, to work out registration issues or team issues or things like that. And with all of our classes, they're always...
You skipped we're going to have a big recording session.
Today.
Isn't everybody introducing themselves?
Yeah, I was going to make that a little more of a surprise, but we can tell them. Yeah, the open moment here is, at one point we're also going to ask all of you to introduce yourselves. And it's been part of the many things you're going to learn, get opportunities to practice here, are opportunities to speak and to write and to plan and to sell. And this is one of those opportunities to speak. And so what you should start thinking about is we're going to ask you to give your own personal elevator pitch, 60 to 90 seconds. And it's really kind of introducing yourself, why you're in the class, anything kind of really interesting or different about your background.
And it's going to be recorded and uploaded so you can watch yourself.
Yes, and critiqued. So this is your first start. So think about, how do you, what's important to convey, and how do you do that clearly and quickly, and stick out from the other 35, 40 people that are going to be doing it. But so we'll go through all that today. Classes are always on Thursday nights and from 6 to 9, and so we won't always go straight till 9 o'clock. I would expect of all the nights, tonight might be an earlier one. And one of the reasons why we do the class here and in the camp is that as soon as the class ends, if we have extra time, then you can go spend time with your teams and meet and talk. And often there's mentors at class too, and they'll go hang out and talk with you too. So that's generally how this whole thing will go.
So you skipped something. Teams in the class are eligible to have space here at the camp.
Yes, that's a great point. I don't think I have a slide for that. So this is the Lone Star. I was calling it Lone Star. Longhorn Startup Camp, and it's pretty amazing. Bob and Kyle, and who has worked with in the previous semesters, worked really hard to procure this space, and we've had it for quite a while now. It will not last forever, and you're really lucky to have all this great space. And basically, each team gets an office here. And in my experience, it's kind of dead here during the day when everybody's at class, but then often in the evenings, there's lots of people here and startups here, and having all the startups together is something really good. There's a synergy that happens there that's really helpful. If your team doesn't have a room here, you'll get assigned one, and you'll talk to Ian about that. At our classes on Thursdays, there's always food. It's a little late today. We'll figure out a good break to let you guys go grab some pizza in a few minutes. We try not to always have it be pizza. But here are some of the things that we're going to do over the course of the semester, and what I would say are kind of the big things, the big kind of milestone things that stick out of the different classes. One of the first things you'll do is work on a lean canvas. If you want to learn more about that, it's leancanvas.com. And that's the lean in there is related to lean startup. How many people have heard of lean startup? A bunch of you. If you haven't, you should go read that before we tell you to go read it later. But Lean Canvas is a way to map out your business and think about what you're doing, and it's a really helpful tool. And that'll be one of the first things we do is, as a team, as a class, everybody will go through and create a Lean Canvas, and we'll put them up and we'll talk about them together for everybody's different businesses. Every team will do a round of elevator pitches. So this will be a short presentation that's kind of pitching your business either to customers or to investors. And this is, again, more opportunities for you to get up and speak and present. That's done one per team as opposed to today where everybody in the class is going to go do it. For demo day, which is at the end of the semester, you'll do a big presentation that's up on stage to hundreds of people. That's kind of your part of the final project. So in the middle of the semester, you'll do a draft of that. You'll get up and give kind of your first version of that. And you'll have a chance to get some feedback, iterate on that, and then do that again for the final. And then similarly, at the end of the semester, every person does a 10-page paper, and that'll be, one way to think about that is really like you're taking usually one piece of the business plan and really focusing on that. So as a team, you don't have to write a whole business plan, but if you had enough people, you might end up with a whole business plan at the end of that.
And you'll do that twice, first draft and then final draft.
So that's kind of similarly to the elevator pitch, or similar to the demo day. There'll be a first one you submit, and then you'll get critiqued, you'll get feedback, and you'll get a chance to do another one at the end. And then we try to bring in a lot of great speakers. In the past, we've had Michael Dell, Frank Moss, who's was the CEO of Tivoli, which is another big Austin success story. And this semester, right now we have one really big speaker lined up, which is Brett Hurt, who's the CEO of Bizarre Voice. They went public earlier this year, so a really great Austin success story. Brett is a UT alumni as well, and so we're really excited to bring him in. And with an event like that, we'll actually open that up to the rest of the school. It'll be an open event. Bob will probably interview him up on stage, and that'll be one of our class nights. And then at the end, finally, we've got your final demo day pitch and your final paper. And then besides that, we've got speakers every week. Often there'll be 2 speakers a night. Talking on different topics that are things we think are important things you want to learn about. The obvious things are things like fundraising, about how to build your company and your team and the culture there, intellectual property, selling, planning, other really important skills. And we have a bunch of really amazing people to bring in that are usually entrepreneurs and other people from industry that are really out doing this and have done it before, and people that we know are really good speakers and are going to be really helpful. So that's another big part of it. You'll get invited to a bunch of special things being part of this class because that's what happens. There end up being other events or other things that we'll get you into or get you invited to. And then we'll have a number of events outside of class, like hackathons, which are basically just, we'll all maybe come into this room on a Saturday or something like that for the afternoon, and everyone will be working, but that way there'll be mentors here, and there'll be maybe some even kind of more technical mentors that might not come to everything else. And just, there's a bunch of things that happen from that. 1, people help each other. 2, just putting everybody in a room makes everybody work harder and work longer, and you just crank a bunch of stuff out, which is pretty helpful. And then we'll also do, sometimes a couple times during the semester, we'll go somewhere and we'll just have a barbecue somewhere or something like that, outside of class too, to give people a chance to interact and hang out with mentors and things like that. So that's kind of basically what happens during the class. But and this is our Thursday night lecture, 6 to 9 p.m. here. Attendance to this is mandatory and part of your grade. Attendance is limited, which means it's only for people in the class, or we make an exception that if you are, so there are some times where you're part of a team and one person on the team just couldn't enroll for the class because for one reason or the other either didn't fit with their schedule or things like that. We don't mind those people coming and sitting in, but in general there are a lot of people that want to come and sit on this class, and we would be full. So it's not open to the public. If you ever have a question about that, you should just ask Bob or I or Ben, if there's somebody that you think you'd like to bring in. We do bring in special guests, but they're VIP special guests. It's not like a friend of mine wants to come in. It's like somebody that we want you guys to meet or something like that. As mentioned, food's provided. I can't promise that, but we're pretty good at it. It's pretty much here every time and usually gets sponsored. Tonight, it's sponsored by Other Inbox, which is my startup that I sold about 6 months ago. Other Inbox is for people that get too much email.
I don't know anybody.
Pretty much everybody gets too much email, but it's a set of tools to help organize and manage your mailbox better, make it really easy to stop the stuff that you don't want, and make sure you see the things that are most important. And we've got about 2 million people using it actively every day. About 3 million people have signed up, and you should all go try it out. And we hire Rails developers. That's the biggest thing we do. We're always looking for all kinds of good people, like designers and other things like that, but we're a really big Rails shop, and you get to work on something that millions of people use, which is kind of cool. You can go roll out code, and a lot of people are using it. There are a bunch of t-shirts that we brought, and some stickers and stuff. Please take them so that I don't have to take them home. But they're really comfortable. They're good shirts, so grab one. The ones on the end closest to me, there are a couple of women's shirts, which is pretty unusual for any kind of free stuff. So we got a couple over there. But please grab some of those. And in particular, there's some new stickers there. Some of you guys have taken the class previous. Who took this class last semester? You see, there's a number of people that have. So some of this is repeat. But there's pink Startup Revolution stickers, which are Brad Feld's new series of books around startup stuff that are pretty cool. So those are my latest edition. You'll see I have an obsession with T-shirts and stickers that spell kind of unhealthy. And as I mentioned before, mentors hang around after this class, and so that this is a really important meeting point. Something that's new this semester from previous semesters is we're going to have a fixed Tuesday meeting at 6 p.m. here as well. It's generally 6 to 7 p.m. You can stay as long as you want. This is meant to be a team meeting for your own team, but also the ideas with your mentors that you're meeting with them once a week. That's one pretty good time to meet with your mentors and present to them at the same time or talk to them. A nice thing about being here during that time is all the other teams are going to be here during that time, which means, again, if you're trying to get mentor time, mentors are really busy. Mentors will come, they'll stop, they'll walk to one office, and then they'll walk to the next office. Or you can hang out and grab people as they go by and try to hijack them. And so that's a really good reason to be here then. The reason why we're doing this way, as opposed to last semester, it was kind of more ad hoc, and you could just go schedule on your own. We just found with 5 or 6 people on a team, it was actually really hard for people to schedule to get together and do that. And so where this goes with the Tuesday, Thursday thing, hopefully this will work for everybody and make that easier. Mentors. So mentors are, I think, the most valuable part of the class and the most underappreciated or underutilized. So all this stuff, like the talks we're going to give, the things you're going to come see here, you could go watch all this stuff on the internet somewhere. Seriously, there's another talk, whatever we're going to talk about, there's somebody giving a talk on the internet with a pre-recorded thing of that's pretty good that you go watch, probably a better one. So there's a great thing about being in person and being able to ask questions and be part of it, and that's what's great about being here, but I don't think the lectures are the best part of all this. That's not why we do it. We do that because it's fun and because it's helpful and because it fits in with everything else we do. But it's easy to kind of focus on that and think that that is what the most important part. And it's not. The most important part is you working on your startup and actually accomplishing something or doing something and moving that forward. And that's where mentors are really, really helpful. And that's what you want to take advantage of. And at the same time, it's hard to take advantage of mentors. If there's anything that you're going to learn here that I think is most important, you'll see Bob and I often have slightly different opinions on things, so we'll emphasize what he thinks is most important.
No, we don't.
When he gets up. But you came here for an argument. No, I didn't. But I think a super valuable skill is learning how to take advantage of help from other people and how to ask for help and how to get things that you need from other really busy people. And that's what you want to learn here, and that's what you want to get. And then also, these mentors, they come with so much stuff they can give you. They've learned so much stuff. They've been through these things before. They know so many people. They can just call somebody up and be like, hey, will you talk to these guys? And get you in the door and get you talking to a customer or maybe just somebody you might be wanting to hire or a potential partner or something like that. They can really make a big difference. And so, but you need to go drive that. They're not babysitters and they're not teachers. They're not paid to do this and they're really busy. So if you don't call them, they will not call you and nothing will happen. And if you call them and if you send them an email and they don't write back and you just go they didn't write back, well, then you're not going to get anything, learning how to manage that is a really, really valuable skill. Did you have a question? Okay. So, how are you going to find your mentors? Every team should have 2 to 3 mentors. If you want to have 5 mentors, that's great. If you only have 1, it's okay, but you're just not going to get as much out of it. You're not taking full advantage of the class. We're going to bring in a whole bunch of mentors. We've got probably about 30 or 40 of them already signed up. They're interested in working with you, but it's really a two-way street, right? You have to want the mentor. We're not forcing them on you. And you have to think this person's going to be helpful, and I like this person. I want to talk to them every week, right, and get their feedback. And they have to think the same thing about you, right? They're volunteering to do this. If they don't think like you and don't like what you're working on or aren't interested in it, then they're not going to spend a lot of time on it, right? So it's like a dating thing. You guys need to find each other and accept each other. But we're going to try to facilitate that and make that easy. We've got people we've already picked out because we know they're good mentors and we know that they're interested in helping you. But that's not all that's available. I know a ton of people, and so does Bob, and so does Ben, and so do a lot of other people here. And so you also need to think about who do you want to be your mentor? Because if you tell us, we'll go get them for you. We'll go out and ask people to bring them in. And it's way more compelling to a mentor for me to go to them and say, hey, I've got a team that needs you, and like actually asked for you, then, hey, would you come volunteer for the class for anything? Like, that's actually very compelling to somebody to hear somebody actually wants me, like I'm a particular fit for this. So think about that. Think about, realistically, like who are the best mentors in the world that you'd want to talk to, or at least the best mentors in Austin, and we will try to go get them for you. But you need to drive that. You need to go try to make that happen. What's expected of the mentors what we tell them is that they're expected to meet with you once a week during the course of the semester for about an hour. It's supposed to usually be in person, because that's going to be the best interactions that you're going to have. You should try to make those things be in person. But mentors are busy. They travel. They do other things. Occasionally, it might be a phone call, or it might be one week. It might only be email. But the idea is that they're generally meeting with you in person. And the mentors do grade you. They're grading you in particular each week. They give you a score. We try to keep the grading pretty simple, but they give you a score from 1 to 5, and it's a measure of they give 2 scores, and one is it's progress and priorities. So priorities is, are you trying to do the right things, like me, which would mean like they're sitting there telling you like don't work on that, and you keep working on it anyway, or they keep telling you this is the most important thing, and you like don't do that. And in their opinion, that would be where they'd say you're not focusing on the right priorities. And the next one is progress. Did you get a lot done on that? So you can see how both those things, you might be focused on the right things, but actually just not making any progress. Or you might make lots of progress, just be totally focused on the right things. Hopefully, you're making a lot of progress on the right things, and that's what we're trying to help you focus on. And that's where mentors can be so helpful. Like when you're starting a company, when you're at the stage you're at right now, the problem's not knowing what to do. Like there's like a million things to do. Right? They have this huge list of things you can do, and you know all these things that are wrong and all these things that are broken, and it's kind of overwhelming. And it's kind of like, where do I start, right? And what the mentor can help you to do, one of the first things, is just help you figure out what not to worry about and what to focus on. Like, hey, that stuff, that's not important right now. Like the critical thing for you right now is proving this thing. This is what you need to focus on and helping you to focus on. So to help with this, on this Tuesday next week, we're having our mentor match, or mentor dating. That'll be here at 6 p.m. and replacing the company meeting that would normally happen. And the idea is to match you up with mentors. And so what will happen is there'll be basically a table for each team. And then we play musical chairs with the mentors. So basically they all come in and every mentor sits down at one table, and they won't all be able to fit. And then every 5 minutes we ring a buzzer and everybody rotates the table. And you get to talk to, all, if not most of the mentors. And that's one way for you to meet them, learn a little about what they do, have them learn a little about what you do, and then, ideally out of that you would then follow up with people that you really liked and try to get to know them better or see if they can help you. And you should do your homework beforehand. What I mean by that is you're going to have a much better event if you go in already knowing who the mentors are. So we've got a bunch of them on our website. One of the things we'll do is we'll email out to everybody, hopefully at least by Monday, if not sooner, a list of the mentors that are signed up and like their LinkedIn profiles and things like that. And you want to look through that and like make your hit list. Like you should go in open-minded. Like I would meet with a lot of different people because there'll be people that surprise you that you don't realize that they might be able to help you, or it might not be on their LinkedIn profile. They're like, oh yeah, I did that thing and whatever. But you should know, oh, these people, I know these people are going to look good. Like I looked them up. They look like people that would be helpful to me. Any other, I'm not supposed to be just rambling on like this. You guys can ask questions and stuff. Do you guys, any questions up till now?
If we want a mentor to come, should we ask them to come before the event takes place?
If you want a mentor to come, you should introduce them to me, Bob, or Ian.
All right.
And we'll help. We're not going to try to reject people, but we're also kind of screening for you guys too. So introduce them to us, and we'll help them through. Other questions? Okay, so a couple more things about working with mentors. So that's my inbox. It's actually really old. That's my inbox a year ago, which only means it's worse now. It's like 15,000 unread messages, right? So if you send me an email and I don't see it or I don't reply, it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't like you. I try to reply. Like I try to be pretty good about it. Bob tries to be pretty good about it, but he gets a lot of email too. He didn't quite invent email, but it's like really close. But so it's like you keep that in mind, right? Like don't get all offended if you send an email That's not the only way to talk to people. Like, I hear all the time, like, oh yeah, I sent him an email 2 weeks ago, he never wrote back. I sent him one email 2 weeks ago, he never wrote back. And you think, like, that's the end of it. Like, yeah, no, you're never gonna get anything done that way. Like, you can send a follow-up email. You can contact them other ways. You can call them. You can try to stalk them and find them somewhere. You can Twitter them. You can Facebook them. You can do all these other things to try to get them some other way. And you need to learn to do that. And not get offended if they don't write it back right away. And don't take it personally or think that they're trying to avoid you, because they all volunteered to be here. They're not trying to avoid you. This is my calendar. You can't really see the details, but that doesn't really matter. The point is it's full. Like, if you wanted to book something with me, you've got like here, there's like 4 hours open this whole week, right? And that's not this week, but it's any given week. Now, I move stuff around, do all kinds of things. The point is like, most of the mentors are like this. They're off. The reason why you want to talk to them is they're busy. They're off running a company, doing stuff, right? And so, you have to just have that mindset. You have to be thinking about, how do I make this as easy as possible on them to help me? Like, and some of that's how you ask the question. You know, like, think about how you ask the question. Right? If you can, not every question is a yes/no answer. But if you make it one, it's way easier for them to answer. You know, like, so start off by, like, can I make it into a yes/no question, or at least get a yes/no out of them? Because then they can just read it, write back really fast. If they have to write like a couple paragraphs to respond, I'm just less likely to get a response, or it's going to take longer. Now, not everything's like that, but that's just an example. Also, just thinking about, did you give them enough information? You know, like, if you're asking a question, maybe you sent them the other information like a week ago, but instead of saying, go look at that email I sent you a week ago, put everything they need in that one email, so they can just look at that email, go through it, and answer it. Also, keep in mind, most people are going to be reading emails on their phones, so that means opening attachments can be a pain. It means, you know, how much they can read and what they see might be different. So wherever possible, I put everything in the email, like not in an attachment that's next to it, because then I know they can read the whole thing on their phone. And then if I have to do an attachment, a PDF is usually like the most flexible thing that'll open anywhere. But that's me kind of thinking about, how do I make it really easy for them to reply? How do I make it really easy for them to respond to me quickly and be really efficient with their time? This is such an important concept, but again, getting back to like what I think you can get out of this, learning to be persistent without being an asshole is like a super valuable skill. And that's, you know, everybody that's really important in life that you're going to want to talk to is really, really busy. And, you know, just learning that balance of, how do I be persistent and ask for things and yet not make them mad at me is really, really valuable. And it's a balance, you know, it's not a perfect thing there, and that's what you'll learn. Different people are different. But that's one thing that you'll learn here, and that's a really key thing for working with mentors. And then finally on that, and this is one of my favorite sayings, but it's something that very few people take to heart, although I always give Dwayne credit, because Dwayne very much has taken this one fully in. But if you're not hearing the word no, like if you're not saying, hey, can you blah, 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 and they're saying, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that, then you're not asking for enough stuff. Like, that's your measure. Like, if you're not hearing the word no, then you need to think of something harder to ask for. And I really, really mean that. Like, it's okay to hear the word no. Like, if you ask a mentor to do something they can't, they're not going to get mad at you. They're going to feel bad they can't do it. And that's how you know, like, okay, I reached the point, like, I asked them for enough stuff. And if you haven't heard no yet, you should be asking for more stuff. So what's kind of more stuff you could be asking for? Like, instead of just sitting down and talking to them, you might say, hey, can you sit on, if they're telling you some advice about, hey, when you talk to, you're trying to close this deal, you're talking to somebody, hey, you should tell me this, you should tell me this. Hey, could you sit in on the call with me? You know, would you sit there on the phone with me while I do it? Would you do the call for me? Like, will you? Totally happens. This is not even far-fetched yet. This is like stuff that actually happens, but you might not think to ask for. Wow, they say, oh yeah, I got a customer. They have a problem. Like, cool. Would you introduce me to them? Oh, we're having a problem with blah, 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 blah. Oh yeah, we built something like that too. Cool. Can I come to your office and sit down with one of your engineers? Will he look at my thing with me? Some people, none of these things are, I'm not even getting to the no's yet. These are all things people are going to say yes to. So, great. Crap, I don't know how we're going to do that. Would you loan us $5,000 so that we can, that one they'll probably say no to, but you can ask. Just think that way. Think, what else can I, what would be super helpful? Who can they introduce me to? What can I ask them? How can I ask them to spend their time with me? What do they have at their company or other things that I can tap into that would help me? And you want to ask for those things. And as long as you're respectful and you do it, you're not rude about it or anything like that, no one's going to get mad at you for asking for interesting things to help them. And I really mean this. Like, this is exactly it. You actually have to hear them say no, and nobody does that. Like, almost nobody. So push it. That's where you're going to get a lot of this class. We do office hours. I do them generally Thursdays before class today, and then also I do them on Sunday nights. I'll occasionally do office hours other times too. I don't know if it's a fair statement or not. My schedule's probably less flexible than the other professors, so I have to try to kind of box it in more. Whereas with Bob, he's probably a little more flexible, where you can just email him to set up a time, and he'll set up a time.
Plus, my office is right on the corner of this floor.
Yes, and his office is right here, so you can just grab him. I think Ben would be similar. You email him to set up times to meet, or either they may do similar things and set up standard times when they're here, where you can meet with them. This is one of those things where, again, just like with the mentors, trying to be respectful of our time, it'd be really great if you can try to fit into one of my office hour spots. If you can't, then ask to meet me some other time, and that's just that's the trying to make it easy on me, but also being persistent and asking till you hear no.
I'd like to point out that you have left a letter out of my name, but it's a different letter than the one usually left.
Oh yeah.
It's very innovative.
The innovation goes all the way through this class. Yes, Dr. Metcalf. That's the Swedish version. And then also my office hours, and please don't post this link anywhere or anything, but this is a Google Calendar. Google Calendar has a feature called appointments, and so I actually have open spots blocked, like open, and you can just click that link and go grab a spot. Now, and if you look on the calendar, the spots are labeled, and some say like kind of anybody, and some say students only, or like Capital Factory portfolio only, and so you guys can take any of them, but look for those, and they sometimes book up like 2 or 3 weeks in advance.
Months in advance.
Sometimes 2 or 3 months in advance. So things happen there. One, if you're smart, Dwayne did this last semester. He went out and he booked a meeting with me every 2 weeks, the whole semester, at the beginning of the semester. And that way he had a spot, and like that. I don't know if you can all get away with doing that. My schedule might break, but that was a smart thing to do. Like he kind of was like, okay, I know I'm going to want to meet with Josh regularly. I know books in advance, so I'm going to book a bunch of these things ahead of time. Another thing a trick I often do is my office hour blocks are scheduled for 1 hour each, but I will often, if you write to me and say, hey, I looked at your office hour thing, it's blocked up, for 3 weeks. Is there something you can do with me sooner? I'll often stick an extra one on the end of it. So knowing that mine are Thursdays and Sundays, you might say like, hey, it looks like your office hours are all booked up on Thursday. Do you have is there an extra spot you can squeeze me in or something like that? And I'll often try to do that. And I have an assistant named Veronica, and if we're doing scheduling stuff, you'll probably get copied on something with her, and she can be really helpful with that too. And you can write to Veronica and say, hey Veronica, I really like to meet with Josh. Can you try to squeeze me in somewhere? And she'll go try to do that. That's it on office hours. My office hours are 20 minutes. 20 minutes is short. That's on purpose. So you have to come in prepared. Know what you want to get out of the office hours. And if you want to look at something before, send it to me the day before. So I already looked at it, and we're not looking at it together in our 20 minutes. And usually the first thing I'll ask you is I'll say what do you want to get out of this meeting today? So think about that going into the meeting. What do I want to get out of this meeting today? I want advice about this, this, and this. I want to know if you can help me with this. I want to look at this thing with you and review it with you. And I would try to do that with your other mentors too. Yeah, Dwayne?
Josh, you might want to mention the location of your office hours may vary over time. That's still true.
Yes, thank you. On the calendar thing when you look at it, it'll say where it is. I do office hours here. I do office hours at Capital Factory, which is down the street at 7th Street. And then I also do on Sundays I do office hours at Lola's, a coffee shop called Lola Savannah, which is at Bee Cave and 360, because that's near my house. And so you'll want to think about that as you pick them.
It's not only near your house, you're also an investor.
And yes, but the reason I pick it is because it's near my house.
Oh, okay.
Okay, communication. Ben, how are you? You got You have to get 7?
I got till 10 after, if you get me on.
Okay, I think we're doing okay. I think we'll
Okay.
get you right on.
Oh, good.
Right on. I've got not too many more slides here. So communication, this is how we're going to talk as a class, how things are going to work. So we've worked really hard to narrow this down to a clear description because we have like, there are a whole bunch of ways you'll hear from us. We have a Twitter account, we have a Facebook page, and we have an email group, and we have all these different things. And if you like all those things, you can get information through all those ways. But this is what you have to do, what you need to know. And the important things are that everything important will come by email. So if it's really important, you'll get an email and read your emails from us like you would with anything else, and that should be it. Assignments will come by email. Things about grades will come by email, things like that. Now, most of the time, the way that will happen is we'll actually just post it to the blog, and the blog will automatically email everybody in the class. So it'll also be on the blog. If you're like looking for something, you should be able to go to onesemesterstartup.com and find it there. We use the Facebook group a lot, and so you'd probably be there too. It'll probably be posted on Twitter, but you should be able to say, like, if I want to know things, I have to watch my email. And then the other thing would be the Facebook group. That's going to be more like us posting a question, like, hey, is anybody interested in this? Or like things that aren't critical, but that we do think everybody should see. There's a lot of discussion happens there, a lot of teams helping each other out and asking ideas and things. It's a closed group for our class. There's also an alumni group that's everybody that's ever taken the class. That's another really great place to post questions, get ideas, things like that. So the two main things you need to think of is your email and the Facebook group. And then grades obviously will be posted to Blackboard. That's the main thing that we do with it. Any questions about that? Jason, you want to add anything to that?
I didn't catch the table, but that's all right. Get yours.
That's okay. You don't have to. Jason owns most of that. Okay, I'm almost done through this, and then we'll probably maybe let him grab some pizza, and then do the intros or do the next steps. Company ownership. So we'll get into more of this later, but just to clarify this, because this is often a question people ask at the beginning, taking this class does not change anything about your company ownership. It doesn't make the university own it. For most of you, because I just happen to know most of you, the university doesn't own it anyway and isn't involved in it at all. It's like your thing. If the university owned it before you took the class, the university still owns it after you take the class. It's like, that's like your own deal to work out. So some people have like commercialized university technology where they're actually spinning something out that was researched and developed here. That might make the university own part of it. This class doesn't change anything about that. This class is you working on your thing, and whatever your startup is not connected to the school because of this. Separate from that, one of the first things you'll need to figure out as a team, and we're gonna make you do, is to actually figure out who owns what, and like figure out your company ownership, which is one of those things that often people leave until way down the road, and it's one of the things they should do like very much at the beginning, or else it gets hard. And then I wrote here, if you don't have anything in writing, then you don't have anything, and that's kind of like the kind of typical. It's like, yeah, we all talked about it. We kind of said we were going to do this, and everybody walks away from that with actually like different ideas about what it really is, or remembers it differently later, or whatever. And so you guys, what you want to have, we'll ask you to have probably within about 2 weeks, is like a written down, even if it's not a legal agreement. This is what we agreed to, how we're splitting up the company and how it works. Another important piece of communication is a weekly report. So every student every week has to write a one-page report. Or not a report, but when I say a report, it's like a report to your other team members, not like a report like you write a book report. And the focus on that, similar to the mentor updates, is what did you get done this week, and what are your priorities for next week? And that you're sending that out really to your team, and it's part of your team communication. It actually also goes to all the instructors and your mentors and the TAs, and it gets graded as well. And it gets graded both on how clearly are you communicating, like your writing, because we're trying to help you improve your writing. We'll give you feedback on that, and that's what Brittany's focused on. But also, what did you actually do this week? And that's part of the, like, are you like doing stuff and moving stuff forward and focusing on the right things? That's due Friday at midnight. You're not required to write that at 11:30 at night, although most people do. I recommend not doing that. But that's really just so that it's meant to be that week that that you're writing it about, and then for the most part that gives us the weekend to try to read them and give you guys feedback.
That's a very common question, by the way, which is, I'm leaving town on Friday night, so I really won't be able to turn in my update. So, well, why don't you turn it in on Thursday?
Yeah, Friday morning or whenever, right? So, so it's due Friday at midnight, and if it is late, most things in our class are graded on a 5-point scale. We try to keep things pretty simple, and if it's late, you lose a point, which is extremely significant. So, I would recommend not being late.
And it's less than a page.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be a page, it's less than a page.
So we're almost at the end here. Another thing you'll do, we mentioned, is this 10-page paper. The Lean Canvas is something that breaks up your business into a bunch of different components about who your customers are, how you're going to make money, what your differentiators are. And generally what you do is you pick one of those and then go into a lot more detail and expand on that. You could think about it like if there was a business plan, this might be one section of it. It's expected to be in the APA format, double-spaced, 8-point font, and 1-inch margins. And you'll do one draft and then one final. Nobody can say you got it. I don't know. It's not really 8-point font. It's like, everyone's like, what font should it be? And it's like, probably 12-point font.
I use 14 myself.
Me too.
But the rest of it's true. So we're not trying to like nitpick over it, but we're expecting 10 pages, 10 pages, real pages. If you cut corners on it, we'll know you cut corners on it. And then one of the last things for me is a demo day. So this kind of all culminates in a demo day. For us, this is it's not the last Thursday of class, it's the Thursday before that. In the past, we've done it at the Red McCombs Red Zone in the stadium and had our logo up on the Gigantotron. Last semester we did it at the LBJ Library, which was a really great spot to do it. And we hopefully will do it in I'm sure a similar inspiring place this time. Hundreds of people show up, press show up, investors show up, lots of people from the university show up, lots of other entrepreneurs from around town show up. You'll get a chance to do a draft one where you'll present it just to the class, get graded, and get feedback. And then this final one is like a very formal presentation up on stage. We record all these things so you have them on video. You can watch them after and see yourself for your own feedback. The format of it is a 5-minute presentation plus some Q&A. And the primary audience for that pitch is investors. That's, it's like someone that was going to be investing. Even if you're not really looking for investors, you would position it like you were looking for investors. So it is 6:50. What we have left to do today is I'm going to introduce Ben and Bob, and we're also going to go around. We're going to do our elevator pitches, which will probably take a good hour or so. Why don't we just see if there's any more questions now? Then we will take like 5 minutes to grab pizzas, and then we'll jump into the next part. Does that sound okay? Or do you want to go before that?
Oh, we got time if you want.
Okay, so
4
any
pizzas,
other
go 2
questions before we grab food? We cannot have food until we have at least 2 questions.
Can we use office space for potential customers?
Yeah, sure.
To bring people along?
Yeah. I mean, they can't get in without you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can, certainly can bring some up here, have a meeting with them. We've got meeting rooms, things like that. That'd be a very good use of this space. We'd love to see customers here. That'd be great.
Is there any sort of calendar system or booking for the conference rooms, or is it just every man for himself?
It's a jungle out here. Actually, the university is quibbling about whether we have this room on Thursday nights. So the answer is no. Maybe we should try. We could do such a thing.
Yes. We use the Google Calendar can do it, or we use a thing called Liquid Space at Capital Factory that's free that could do that. So we'll look into that. It's a good question. Has it been an issue, Dwayne?
No.
Okay. I think generally there's plenty of rooms.
But what I would recommend, if you know ahead of time if you need it at a certain time, like if your whole team coming and mentor, is at least post a sign on the outside of the door that looks decent because other people are using it, so other people might know ahead of time.
That's a great
And if
idea.
you're working in 1s or 2s and a bigger group wants to use it, please yield the space. I think that would.
And one of the problems we have in this infinite space that we have is not enough furniture. And you must resist the temptation to steal furniture from anywhere, but in particular not this room.
Yes. You have to leave the tables and the chairs in here. There was another question.
Yeah, does anyone in our group need to have a markedly different elevator speech?
For today?
Yeah.
Yes, because it's about you.
Okay.
It's not about your company. you might, part of that might be what your company is, but it's really, it's about you and like what's your background and why you're excited about taking the class and what do you hope to get out of it or things like that. Jason?
I've been in now, so I don't know if you talked about the actual long-term starter camp space. A question that was asked to me earlier is, how does one go about getting a key for their own personal offices to lock up monitors, expensive things?
You talk to Kyle, Ian. You talk to Ian now.
Well,
Kyle or
sorry,
Ian.
Teleforce?
Why are you laughing? What's funny?
I haven't seen Kyle in months, and then I show up and he's like no longer a mentoring with it. I thought you guys might have killed him or something.
Oh, he's in the picture.
I've seen him within the hour.
Okay.
Ian.
Alive?
He's alive. Yeah. He was dressed up though, he looked odd. Okay.
So ask Ian is the answer?
Yes.
I think you guys were asking, right?
Yeah.
Also, the other thing you guys were asking was, how does somebody who is not registered at the university get a badge that opens the front door? Is that
They
possible?
probably don't.
You probably don't. Okay.
But we're looking into that. There may be some shenanigans we can play, but I'm not optimistic, but I'm looking into it.
Okay.
Maybe we can declare everybody an intern.
There you go, Alex. Good.
Unpaid.
Anybody else? There's just one last thing before we break. So just having this space is actually like really awesome and unusual. Like no other schools don't have this. This was like a big deal to get, and if we trash it, we will definitely lose it and not get another one. So try to just think about that, and take care of this place and don't let stupid shit happen here.
Like
And- 'cause
last
you're gonna be-
semester's, an example of what you would call stupid shit is somebody was riding a bicycle around here and then stopping suddenly by slamming on the brakes, leaving skid marks on the road.
Yes, that would be an example of stupid shit. Bringing a bunch of people up here, bringing alcohol up here is not appropriate. Just use common sense, but just, like, don't do something that's gonna make everybody else get kicked out of here and us not be able to be here.
An amazing thing is we had Stash Studios, a games startup, which is still, I noticed they're still,
They're here.
They're here regularly.
where are you?
No, they're not here now. They're on the floor regularly.
So they invited the gaming community of Austin into this room, which scared the hell out of me. And they came, they had this, it was all weekend, they had this huge event, internationally connected, and then they left and I couldn't tell they were here when I got back. It was just perfect thing. So that's an example of not stupid shit.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing we would love for that kind of thing to happen. But also, if you tell us, we'll help you. Like we can, so just work with us on that. Like we want stuff like that to happen. That's great. Okay, so let's try not to let's really try to have this be 5 minutes, but if you'd like, let's get up, quick bathroom break, grab some pizzas, grab some slices of pizza if you'd like, and bring them back to your tables, and then we will resume in about 5 minutes.
Soda's around the hall that way.